Welcome to this fourth video of the MONARC training. We will see how to apply the second step in a MONARC analysis. If you haven't seen it or missed it, we highly suggest that you check our last video on the first step of MONARC and the creation of the risk analysis. With that out of the way, we can now begin. The second step is for the context modeling. And the first sub-step, the identification of assets, vulnerabilities, and impact appreciation, will be located to the main working screen of MONARC, the one when you click the risk analysis. You can also, as usual, click on the title to get on the right screen. In this first half, we will focus on the information risk, but the operational risk work the same way, basically. For this step, the two left panel will be important. The top left is the risk analysis in itself and all the assets and their hierarchy. The bottom left will be the assets library, where we will have all of our blueprint to select the good asset. This video will not list all the way to conduct a risk analysis, but will mostly show how to conduct a classical and easy one. But it will also show some good practice and other way to do things when it's possible. I do suggest that you stop the video a bit from here and check the library to familiarize yourself with it. Now, we will build a first simple example for our risk analysis. For that, we will open the category Fundamentals, then Primary Asset, and click on the Department Asset. You can see in the screen the asset name and description, the composition of the asset that we will see in a bit. The main problem with that asset, at least for our risk analysis, is that it is not enough precise. However, if we modify it directly, we will lose the asset department in our library, making it impossible to find it as it were before. So, the good practice would be to first make a copy of the asset and then change this copy. That way, you can keep the original and modify the asset. If you click on the three vertical dots near the asset name and description, you will enter the options that are available for the asset. You can find in this menu the option to edit the asset, duplicate it, export it to save it locally or share it, publish it into MOSP, the platform to share assets in MONARC, and delete it. The good practice, or at least what the Team MONARC suggests to do, is to first duplicate the asset. By clicking on Duplicate Asset, the asset will be copied with the same name, but with copy and a number under parentheses. If the asset does not appear right away, then do not hesitate to reload the page. Now click on the copied asset if you are not in, and then the contextual menu. You can click on Edit Asset. On this new window, you can change the name and the description of the asset, which we will do in our case. For the other informations, we cannot change the scope between local and global, or the type of asset, as it is a copy. We can change the category that we choose to put in it, and add a tag for operational risk, as it is a primary asset. Concerning the category, you can change it, modify the current category by modifying the label, the parent and the location of the category, or add an entirely new one. You can, in that way, customize your library the way you want. Concerning the operational risks and the tags, they will be shown in the video that will explain more the knowledge base. Now that we have, in our library, a first department, we can put it in our analysis. In order to do that, we just need to drag and drop the department in our risk analysis zone. Just left-click and maintain it to drag it, and release the click once you are in the risk analysis zone. And now, you have put your first asset in your risk analysis.
But now, our primary asset need to have some secondary assets to have some information risks. You can of course click on multiple category and select the one that you want. Fortunately, we have a pre-made asset that should contain all we need to represent a simple department, which is in the model structure category. If we click on it, we can see two assets, the front office and the back office. The front office represents what is inside the service once you enter in it. The back office represents all the support assets there is to help the department. If you click on the front office, you can see 5 different assets that are linked to it. The front office is the parent of the service office, the global asset employee, the global asset user workstations, the asset specific software, which is himself the parent of the specific software maintenance. Let's say that you do not have a specific software in all of our front office. The best practice would be to first duplicate the asset to have a backup of this one, but let's not do it here. However, we will still rename it, such as Global Front Office, for instance. Now we can click on the sizer icon near the asset specific software. You should be asked to confirm your choice by clicking on the Detach button. Now you can see that we don't have any more the specific software in our front office. We can add it by drag and drop it as we have done for the department. And we can see by clicking the plus button the different assets that we have in our risk analysis. On our example case that we have here, let's pretend that our finance department uses specific software. In our asset library, we can click on Fundamentals, Software to see our specific software. We should duplicate it and ideally name the used software. As you can see, when duplicated, we also make a duplication of the specific software maintenance. But in our case, let's say that the specific software maintenance is the same for every software we use. First, we should rename our specific software. Once we have saved, we can detach our copy of the specific software maintenance. But now, we need to attach our first specific software maintenance. To do that, we should click on the little blue plus button and choose the component by starting to type its name. We can then choose the order where you want to add it and add it by clicking the yellow button. We also need now to delete the copy of the specific software we just made. Click on this asset, click on the 3 vertical dots, and delete the asset. You will have a confirmation window that should pop up, so in our case, we can accept it. And now we have cleaned our blueprint. we can add by drag and drop our specific software in our front office. Not, while drag and drop it, a small blue rectangle that appears. This rectangle indicates you where the asset will be placed if you release it at this moment. In the same fashion, you can also drag and drop the back office. We will not change anything on it besides its name. So we need to drag and drop the back office from Fundamentals, Model Structure. Note that you can choose the order of all the elements or to your liking, but you cannot change the assets that are linked in the asset library. Now, we have forgotten to duplicate our front office, so we don't have the original anymore. To restore it, we can click on the blue plus button near the asset library. A new window will appear here where you can create an asset from scratch. In order to do that, you have to fill the name of the asset, the label, which is a description, the scope to define if it's local or global, the asset type, and its location. The asset type will be described more in detail in a further video, when we will talk about the knowledge base. As you can see in the creation window, we can also either import from MOSP or from the Asset Import Center. On MOSP, you can see all the assets that are created by the others. By importing from MOSP, you have to choose the organization, the asset to add, and the place where you want to add the asset. But more interestingly, we can import from the Asset Import Center. You can choose to import from a CSV file, from an export that you had previously, or from the MONARC library. The MONARC library contains all the default assets of MONARC, and we can search for our front office. We have an important choice. We can import it by duplicating it or merging it. By merging means that our front office that we already have will be modified, and in our case, we do not want that. Besides, only global assets can be imported by merging, and this is not our case here. By duplicating means that it will be from a new fresh copy of the asset. This is the option we want. To importing it, we can select it by clicking the button in the Actions category and then click on Important Asset which just appeared. A green message should confirm your action. As you can see, an original front office is back, so even if you have deleted it, you can make it reappear that way. You can also export one of the assets that you have created. For instance, if we click on our global front office in the asset library, if we click on the contextual menu near the global front office, we can export the asset. It is recommended to export mainly to share with the others your asset. You can choose to export it with or without a password. You will download a JSON file that will contain all the assets' data. This is that way that you can import an asset from a MONARC export file. Now, we will replicate just what we have done, but a bit more accelerated. We will create another department, and do not forget to duplicate it. We will also put the front office and the back office. And we can now consider that we have finished identifying our assets. But that doesn't mean that we have identified all the risk that we have. Indeed, for now, we just took advantage of the risks that are pre-made in MONARC. Let's take the global front office and the backup management we have as an asset. There is no importance of the department we choose, as it is a global asset. Once you are on the risk screen of the asset, you can see a button to create a specific risk. When you click on it, a new window will appear where you have to choose a threat and a vulnerability. For our case, we will choose the threat software malfunction and the vulnerability the interface can be accessed by everyone. And with that, we have created our first custom risk. This is not the only way to add a risk, but as the other way is in the knowledge base, we will see it in a further video. And with that, we can consider that we have identified our assets and our vulnerabilities. And we will now concentrate on the identification of the impacts. Let's take our Excel asset in our finance department. You can go in the contextual menu of the asset and click on Edit Impacts. You should be in front of this matrix with all the consequences. You can edit the hidden consequences by showing them if you have any. Our idea is now to fill all the relevant fields. In order to put the right amount of your scale, you have now to ask yourself the needed question. For this specific cell, you need to ask yourself, if I lose the confidentiality of the data, what will be the impact on my reputation? If you don't recall all the scales that you have, you can let your mouse over the reputation to have a reminder of those descriptions. If you click on the down arrow, you will have a full list of the possibilities and their description by hovering them with your mouse. Here, let's put a 2 as for example. You should then fill all those fields. Here in this video, let's put some random numbers. The maximum will be the higher impact on the line. Do not forget to save your progress by clicking the Save yellow button. And as you can see, the impacts are updated for our software. You may have also seen that the specific software maintenance also has its impact set. It is thanks to the inheritance. But in MONARC, the main idea would be to do the impact assessment on the primary assets. So let's take the finance department and access to the Edit Impact window. For the sake of this video, we put some random numbers, but in this case, you should ask yourself the questions for each impact. You do not have to fill all the impacts if some are not relevant in your case. Once you have clicked the yellow Save button, you will see all the impacts update. If you click the specific software that you have added, you can see the impact that are taken into account are the one we entered earlier. You have to do it for each and every primary asset, so that means we should also edit the impacts in our second department. Again, let's put some random impacts here. And with that, we have finally finished this step. The only thing which is left is to check the box to indicate that we have finally completed this point of the method. The last part of this second step is a text editor for the report, the synthesis of assets and impacts. Again, if you do not know what you should write on the step, you can click on the information button to have more details. You can, of course, use all the buttons in order to format your text. And do not forget to click on the Save to keep what you have written. And of course, do not forget to check the tick box to validate your progress in MONARC. Last but not least, you can now download the deliverable about the model validation to confirm with your management that you have the model that corresponds to the reality. As you already have to do on this last step, you need to fill some information for the report. When it is done, just click on the yellow Save button to download your report. You will download the report in the docx format. And that's it for this video. The next video should be around the third step in the MONARC method. I wish you a nice day, and I will see you on the next video.